to some other things that we're going to talk about this week. We want to make sure here at College Success Coaching that you're getting the most out of your college experience. And what better way to do that than discuss the article of the week? So, the article of the week this week is 9 ways college is different for millennials than it was for previous generations. Now, right off the top, I got to say, millennials is iffy at this point as a title. Millennial is a generation that was right after Generation X, and it's pretty much over. So you got to forgive Business Insider on this one, but they're talking about all the things that are different in the last, say, 3 to 5 years, which is really all we can do. You know, we can't say how they're different like today because that would have to get reported tomorrow historically as yesterday. So when will then be now? Soon. Name me that reference, you win. Hold on. I'll get right on here, and then we'll go back to the article. Name me the reference. Spaceballs, you got it. All right, let's go. This article says millennials' lives are a lot different, and you can substitute Gen Z or whatever, you know, you could substitute whatever. A lot different than their parents' lives were at the same age. Exhibit A, college. Higher education has evolved over time, creating a different environment for millennials or anybody else compared to previous generations. Most significantly, college today is more expensive, but it has also experienced an increase in technological advancements and opportunities, diversity, and stress, and competition. So those are the things that we're probably going to focus on the most because obviously that's what I'm interested in. Millennials face a lot of differences compared to their parents, and so do you. They carry bigger financial burdens, deal with a different dating pool, always have to be on at work, but have more flexible working options and have access to social media. And I would argue, as I was speaking to my high school students yesterday, we were talking about how that being on at work also is being on socially because of social media all the time. So, you know, that's why your buddies from your high school are posting on Snapchat and they're sending you all these ridiculous videos and things about what an amazing time they're having. You know, there's always that one guy that just seems like he's always partying. Don't worry. By sophomore year, you're not going to see much. And if he's partying, it's going to be at home. But, you know, don't worry about that. It's not always true. There's people who can party and still manage to keep their grades up. But by and large, not so much. That's the exception, not the rule. They also have different college experience than baby boomers and Gen X did. Most notoriously so, the cost of college tuition has significantly increased since the 1980s. But there are a few other contrasts as well, both good and bad. Think technological advancements, increased diversity, and stress and competition. In fact, people attending college today, more than any other previous generations, have a bachelor's degree, and it's at its highest point yet. 40% of millennial workers aged 25 to 29 had a bachelor's degree in 2016 compared to 32%. So, I mean, that's 8% higher in 2000. So it's in 16 years. It's a huge jump. And, you know, before that, there was another 6% change 15 years prior. So you're seeing more and more in a shorter amount of time for bachelor's degrees. But they're attending college in a different environment. From the price of college textbooks to online learning opportunities, here's how college differs for millennials and you. So this, yeah, obviously this focuses a lot on millennials. This gives you data from people that are aged like 25 and up to like 29, 30. I mean, that's typically, if you look at millennials, they're usually anybody that was like 1985 or 1983 up all the way to, I think, 1998, something like that. So, you know, you were born probably after this, but you might still be considered in the millennial group. It's a pretty big group. So let's just go over the important points on here. There's a few that I'm going to skip on over because it's just kind of nonsense and it's just so obvious that we're just going to skim over. But some of these points are actually really important because, you know, these are things that are uniquely challenging to you. And what does uniquely challenging to you mean? It means that other people, namely your parents and guidance counselors and teachers and people who were in this system even 10 years ago plus, don't know how to best support you. They know how to support you, and they know how to support you well often. But the best support that can be given is impossible without the knowledge of how these things have changed. So This might be an interesting conversation piece for you to have with your family if you're going to go home for a fall break, or even if you wait till Thanksgiving, or if you want to give a phone call, give a shout out. It's an important thing to get people in the same mindset of where you're at in terms of how college is for you, because everybody assumes that when you go through an experience, it's going to be the same for everybody. So I went to this car dealership. They treated me like crap. Oh, that's really weird. I just would have assumed that they were great. Why? Well, because I had a great experience there. Right, but you're one person and I'm another person, and we had a different person that was helping us in the same building. So I hate trigonometry. Well, that's weird. I love trigonometry. Yeah, well, you had the good teacher in it and I had the terrible teacher in it. So it's the same thing. So we assume similar experiences, even though obviously you would think intuitively that wouldn't be the case. But that's why it bears having a conversation about. So let's get into this. Number one, more students are going to college. The demand for higher education has risen dramatically since 1985, and arguably even more and more exponentially. And this is Richard Vedder, author and distinguished professor of economics emeritus at Ohio University, and they told Business Insider that. Enrollment in the U.S. duplicated from 1970 to 2009. And according to the Department of Education, U.S. colleges expected a total of 20.4 million students in the fall of 2017. So last year, it was estimated that there were 20.4 million. That's 5.1 million more than 17 years prior. It's a lot of people going to college. The rewards for college have expanded and grown from 1985 to a little after 2000 and sort of leveled off in the past decade. Well, that's a really important point. They just kind of snuck in there like, yeah, you know, it was really getting better and better to go to college, and that kind of leveled off 17 years ago. What does that mean? That means the value of a bachelor's degree was going up and up and up and up and up. And then when you and I were going to college, it's the same value that it was back in 2000. So we have the same value of our degree as people 6 and 17 years before us. It kind of leveled off. But people are applying more and more and more. So you have 5 million more people going to college than currently, like current college students, than 17 years ago. But it's leveled off in value. So what does that mean? It means inflation. Just like everything else, the value goes down when there is a huge increase in the amount, even though the benefits have flatlined. So if you look at what the value of something is, now there are, let's say, there are 20 units of value to a college degree, and now it was 21, 22, 23, 24, and then 2000 hit and 25 peaked. There are 25 units of value for, say, 15 million people. But now you got to divide by 20 million people. So now it's not 25, now it's more like 20. So it's actually less valuable than it was in 2000. That's what that means. But that being said, it's getting more and more required and more important to have a bachelor's degree to do the same jobs that essentially were able to be done either with an associate's degree or sometimes even without a degree. And there are many jobs that were created in the last 20 years that require a degree only. I mean, you just can't do the job. It requires technical knowledge, it requires experience and internships and connections to get those jobs. So there is a huge job pool that has been created in the last, arguably 30 years, 35 years. And it means that you need the degree just to get into the bottom floor of these places. But that being said, you're not getting as much bang for your buck for the degrees that you have. So that's a really important point. And just like I said, they snuck that right on in there. So that leads to number 2. College is more competitive. So this is something that it's one of my pet peeves. It's one of the things that I talk about all the time. Do you realize you are in competition with everybody you go to college with? Everybody. Not just the other people in your major, not just the other people in the honors program, not just the 3-4 people that you're trying to get the same internship as. Everybody your age. In the national marketplace, because even if you were like, hey, I'm willing to move for a job, you are competing against 20 million of your peers for less than that many good jobs. Let's just put it that way. It is competitive. What does this mean? I'll throw some statistics at you. With more students applying to colleges, yay, statistics, it's harder to get in. So, congratulations, you guys got in. In 1988, the acceptance rate for Columbia was 65%. In 2014, it's 7%. Yeesh. So if you're in Columbia right now, salute. Very nice job. University of Michigan's acceptance rate went from 52% to 33%. So again, kudos. But it's also said that there's truth and untruth to the myth of college admissions getting harder each year. As it turns out, getting into college actually isn't any harder than it was a decade ago. It's just the odds of admission to your particular college may have decreased. Well, that's the same thing. If you want to get into a particular college, you won't care about that statement that they just said, because it's harder for you to get into the specific school you want to get into. And most of you, I know, you wanted to get into a specific college, maybe two, but you had your heart set on at least one. So that's a nonsense statement. So there's more and more applications to colleges, the same colleges. They can't just keep increasing the number of admissions, so acceptance rates are on the decline. Now, there's a point that it doesn't bring up about competition, and that's the competition in college. So there are statistics that are out there right now, like say the Pew Research Foundation came out with a poll, and it showed that students who graduate in the bottom 60% of their college class are going to make, on average, $5,000 a year less than if they just didn't go to college at all by the same age, by 21. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. You will be making less money per year, on average. That's not you. It's not just you, you, but it could be, because it's the average. There's some people making more, there's some people making way less than if you would have just not gone to college. Now, I know a lot of you are going to college because you care about what you want to do. So you want to actually get into college to be into X-ray technology, or you want to get into it because you love sociology. You want to be a philosopher, you want to be in business, you want to be a portfolio manager. So for you guys, it's a little different, but a lot of people, and some of you that I'm talking to right now, you're just going to college because you know you're supposed to go to college. You might even have gone in undeclared, which is getting harder and harder to do. But even if you went into a major, come on, it's October, it's the middle of October. You're thinking to yourself, yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily what I want to be doing. Already, you know that. So you're not sure about what it is that you want to do. So what is the point of college then? You know what it is. It's to get a better living. It's to make more out of your life. It's supposed to be a benefit. But because college is becoming more and more competitive, what colleges do not want to tell you, what admissions counselors do not want to tell you, what guidance counselors, certainly a lot of college coaches don't want to tell you, it's not about getting in that's going to make your life better. It's about being in the top half, wherever you are, that's going to make your life better. So this is my huge argument against the I'm going to get by argument. Sure, you'll get by. It's okay. You'll get by. No problem. But think about what happens if you just get by. Bottom 50%, bottom 40%, maybe. Even if you're in like the 2.7 land, you graduate, you're doing okay. You go for any job, there's 10 people in front of you that have a better GPA because they worked a little bit harder, they maybe cared a little bit more. Maybe they just went to a college that was way easy for them, so they just have a great GPA. You're knocked out of the competition. Then you have to take jobs that are making you less money, and a lot of times you're doing jobs that don't even require a bachelor's degree, like 40% of college graduates today. Man, that got serious. Like, I can feel how heavy it got. It's like really like... So let's get that off. All I'm saying is the reason why you're here, hopefully, is so that you can stay in the top. Stay competitive. Be competitive. Be one of the people that everybody else is like, I got to do as well as them. That just takes that little bit of extra self-awareness, ownership, having some value and purpose in your life. Recipe for success. So I'm not going to keep going on with that. But again, the reason why I'm here. College is more expensive. This is so stupid, I'm not even going to go over it. You know college is expensive. I do, however, have a list of the 100 colleges that are up and coming in terms of tuition being low, and so more and more people are applying to them. It's a really interesting list. I know you're already in college, but number one, transfer is always an option. And number two, grad schools are often commensurate with the undergrad costs. So if you're looking into grad schools in the next couple of years, which you probably will be, you could look at it and you could see what might be a cost-effective solution for you. So I'll put that up, and just remind me in the questions and answer if I didn't do it next week. College textbooks are also pricier. Duh, like, come on. Although I will say this about college textbooks, right? So college textbooks, there's a huge amount of scams going on for college textbooks, the biggest of which is the digital format rental. If ever you are offered the opportunity to get the digital copy of your textbook, but it's a rental, and that's why it's so cheap, no, unless you absolutely can't afford to have a physical copy of the book or the permanent digital copy. No, there's a lot of reasons why, but for the most part, like, your textbooks are some of the only artifacts that you went to college that you will take with you after you graduate. I can go and grab my college textbooks. I still look at them, even though some of them are outdated, but some of the science and math doesn't change. You know, hopefully science and math don't change too much in that amount of time. But it's really important if you have like a cumulative test for, like, say, grad school, or you have a GRE that is major specific, like the psych GRE, or you have like a pre-med, and then you have the med school tests, or like pre-law for law tests like LSATs. It's really important that you have your materials. So they're offering you rentals of material you will then have to go back and buy again if it turns out that you have to go and like study these books, because your notes aren't going to do it. Even if you do the amazing note card studying that I talk about, which again, set up a one-to-one if you missed it. I'm not going to go over it for a little while, but the note card system will actually help draw out the best information from the textbook. Even then, when it comes to studying for a subject GRE, or it comes to studying for an LSAT or like an MCAS, like you really should have your books with you, because they have all the data, they have all the material, and it's usually about up to date by the time you go to take those tests. So please refrain from just going for that option. There are a lot of other options. I could go over if you want. Let me put in a poll. I actually think this is pretty important. So I'm going to make a poll. And here's the question. Now, if you're on YouTube and you're watching this after, you can just put it in the comments section. Do you want a video that deals with how to get your textbooks cheaper? And as always, the yes or the no. And if you are in the comment section, please say what it is that you want. Don't just say yes or no, because I might ask more than one yes or no question. I'll have no idea what you're talking about. But here's the poll. I'll leave this up while we're continuing to talk about this article. College today is more technologically advanced as well, the article continues. College students have greater technology benefits than their parents did before an advent of the internet. Okay, so there's internet now. Mobile devices and laptops dominate classrooms, but they can also distract students from lessons. I went over this, and this is something that I'll probably have posted on YouTube as well, so you can always check that out, about technology in the classrooms actually making it harder to learn. It's more about distractibility. Like, you're paying attention to this right now and not me, so it's more about distractibility. You're getting distracted, and that's the point. And it makes it harder to learn, because then you're there, but you're not really there mentally. So that's the double-edged sword of technology. I'm not going to get more into it. It does, but I look at the article. More students are learning online. A lot of you will be taking online courses, and I recommend maybe doing so in the summer if you're worried about, like, oh, I only took 12 credits this semester, or God forbid, like, I dropped a class because it was going to be a fail and I didn't want on my permanent record. Please don't do that too much. That's ugly, and it costs you a lot, just monetarily and then your time. But if you do have to do that, an online course in the summer is definitely a solution to get you bumped back up to the right amount of classes in a year. So online course enrollment increased between the fall of 2015 and 2016 school years more than it had in the past 3 years. So that's a bump. 69% of millennials thought they learned better from technology than from people. Hey, that's why I'm here. Only 50% of respondents older than 45 felt the same. So this might be why your parents are like, are you sure that live stream is really helping you? Yeah, Ma. Yeah, Dad. Yeah, it is. Because as you know, you grew up with technology. This is not weird. Like, this video thing, this YouTube thing, you grew up with this. They didn't. Like, let me herald you back to a time. Maybe I'll make a fade. I'm not doing a fade. I'm not going to make special effects for this. There was a time in the 80s where there were not cell phones. There were not laptops. There was a computer lab that had a few computers in the college. So imagine how different just those three things would have made college for your parents. That's insane. No Facebook, no social media, no Snapchat, no cell phones at all. So entertainment was music and plays and television shows, movies on the lawn, going into different people's rooms, hanging out, spending time, like crafts, going out and hiking. They had to find something to do, right, to make themselves, stay interested. And there was a lot of reading, a lot of book reading, and a lot less writing. And I will say that there was a lot less writing in college than there is today. You have to produce at least 10 times more writing than your parents' generation typically. And that's a lot of it's because you can, like with a typewriter or getting into the computer lab to do your homework, it took a lot more time. So it was not practical to give a 12-page paper in every class every week, whereas you may have to be quite prolific, especially as you go further in your college career. So this is actually a very significant change, and it changes the whole landscape of what it means for you to have challenges socially, challenges academically, challenges in terms of what is expected of you, how to get a hold of people. Like email really doesn't work anymore. So there's a lot of changes that are going on right now that make it uniquely difficult for you that your parents may not necessarily understand. And they may say things like, well, why don't you just do X, Y, or Z? Well, because that isn't intuitively the right thing to do for you, and you recognize that, but they may not. So rather than have a fight about it, understand where they're coming from, take the information, and then maybe see if you can convert that into a post-technological world and see if that makes sense. If you have specific questions about that, please feel free to ask. The student population is more diverse. Yeah, okay, but it was always different than coming from wherever you were. College students aren't as religious as they used to be. Again, this is really just making some statistical claim. It's not actually talking about whether or not that's a good thing. Sorry, I just had a bug fly at me and dive bomb me. And college students are more stressed today. And this is the one that I want to leave off on in the article of the week. You guys are more stressed than any population of college students before you. That is a fact. You have to produce more. You're always on for social media. Everything you do is recorded. You can't make the kind of mistakes your parents' generation made. Even like 15 years ago, people could make that you can't make. 18 years ago, 20 years ago, they were able to have a very different college experience. You're on, and you're being watched, and you're being recorded, and you have to do better than more people in your class than ever before. Like I said, it's more competitive than ever. So everybody's watching, and you have to be the best out of a huge group of people. It's a lot more stressful. So a lot of people have jobs while they're at school, 70 to 80% while they're attending, and 40% of them work more than 30 hours a week. I was one of those people, and that exceeds the 15-hour work a week cap that they should maintain without hurting their academics. So it's hard. It's harder, and you're stressed, and that's why you need to take time to take care of yourself. And self-care is a huge part of not getting sick, not breaking down, keeping good grades, staying sane, staying happy, not dropping out, not transferring. Most of those things come from stress. So we're going to talk a little bit more on the other side of this article of the week conversation, because it is really important to help take care of yourself in the lieu of all this stress. And I love giving you guys strategies and ways to stay not stress-free, because it's not realistic, but self-care in lieu of all the stress. So if you're on YouTube, make sure you're signing on to collegesuccesscoaching.com. Just, it's free, 2 weeks. You can just jump on. Always feel free to do that. And otherwise, for you guys that are sticking with me, let's keep going and ask me your questions. And otherwise, this has been the article of the week. All right. Did you like that video? Did you find it interesting? Do you want to find out more about how to get more out of life? That's a lot of mores, and we can do even more than that. So if you would like to check out our website, www.collegesuccesscoaching.com, you can see what it's all about. I answer live questions every week. I have videos with experts in all kinds of fields that can help you to learn more about what they do and what you could be doing, and even more. We have resources on the website. It's a blast. So go ahead, check out the website. It's risk-free. 2 weeks on me. You're welcome. And otherwise, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can get all these article reviews, as well as every once in a while, I'll do a live Periscope where I'll answer any questions anybody sends me throughout that time. So keep on keeping on. We'll see you soon.